Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show, Wednesday, March 6th. See, I got it right this time instead of saying February like I did the other day, yesterday. I got March. Thank you for joining me. If you want to watch the show, you can. It's on YouTube. You just search 97.3 The Fan, or you can go to Facebook, look for the 97.3 The Fan page, Twitch as well, and X, 97.3 The Fan SD. Now, I know that I got a lot of feedback about one particular thing last night, and that was the frogging. Now, this has taken over my life. And so if you don't know what frogging is, go back to last night's show and listen to it. It's near the end. It's like 30 minutes in or so. But this has not only terrified me, but it has terrified everyone out there. Like, I can't meet someone who heard about frogging and is like, I'm going to check everything that I have for the rest of time to make sure that there's no one living in my house. It is creepy. So I'm sorry if I gave you some nightmares last night before you went to bed, but I had to get it out there. I had to get the PSA out there because honestly, you think I'm joking? Just Google it and see all the different police reports out there, see all the different stories that people have. They even have a show about it. So it's a real thing, and you need to take it serious, everybody. Let's go see the chat. You can always chat with me here on YouTube if you go to the 97.3 The Fan YouTube. Trevor's here, Castro's here, Dan's here. Wow, even Odd Thomas is here. Cactus Man's here. Odd Thomas, all the way from the East Coast. If you're a longtime listener to Gwen and Chris, you remember our guy, Odd Thomas. And you know what? This gives me a chance to play something we play maybe once every year, maybe once every 2 years. But it's when Odd Thomas has his own segment, and I made it.
Odd Thomas's NBA news and Odd Thomas's NBA news and
He'll give you the NBA news and notes right now on 97.3 The Fan. Odd Thomas, take it away, buddy. Just don't mess this up. You know what I'm talking about.
All right, so that was made legitimately. I think it was made 4.5 years ago, and sad, or it's sad to say, also good to say that I haven't changed at all in my time in the 4 years. So it's still me behind this microphone. I also see Jacob in the chat as well. M. McKee 23 is in the chat as well. So if you want to come join us in the chat, please do. 97.3 The Fan on YouTube, 97.3 The Fan on Twitch, 97.3 The Fan SD on X. We got a lot to talk about today because it's something, coming into the show today. I wasn't really sure what we were going to get into. What's our heavy topic? Not this show, but Gwen and Chris. And it's like, what is the topic that we're going to talk about? And so I was thinking it was probably going to be the Aztecs coming in because, Padres are playing a game. It's still spring training. But the Aztecs lost last night to UNLV. And so that became our topic of the day. And there were several different things we talked about because we started the show with, the Aztecs lost. They probably lost their 4 seed. But about 10 minutes later, we had an update. And I'm going to tell you what that update was right now.
It's time to get caught up on the latest with the news of the day.
M. McKee said I sounded in that like a teen Skraby recording himself on a boombox. I gotta say, my skills in that department have gone up a little bit, but it's it's definitely not something that I was great at. Hello, Patrick and Annie. Hello, Dave. Thank you all for joining us. All right, so here it is. Here's the news that you may have missed. And 2:02 p.m., Mark Ziegler published an article that Brian Dutcher has a contract extension with San Diego State through the 2027-2028 season. So he's locked in as an Aztec for as long as he wants to be. And in the next segment, I'm actually going to go over some of the different... I like reading contracts. I know I know that there's a huge profession out there. It's called an attorney or something. I can never get it straight. Is it attorney or lawyer? Anyway, someone with legal experience loves contracts, but I like to see all the perks. I like to see all of that stuff. So, how much do they make when they finish in the top 10? Things of that nature. We are going to get into that in the next segment. But this, I think, is a big deal for the Aztecs, for Aztecs fans, for Aztecs basketball. Think about it. I mean, there's so much coaching turnover all over the place, and it just eats up a program and makes them just mediocre or even lower than mediocre for a long time. But the Aztecs have had a head coach basically since Steve Fisher got here. So the continuity of this program is one of the better ones in the country that I can really think of because of how long Brian Dutcher's been a coach for the Aztecs and what he's done for the program. And we were talking about it earlier and how Steve Fisher, he was 6-8, I believe, in tournament games. And then Brian Dutcher is 5-4. He won his 5 last year. That is Brian Dutcher's 5 wins come directly from what Steve Fisher built. So Brian Dutcher is, I'm not going to say like, oh, he's a better coach than Steve Fisher because he's got more tournament wins or coming up on more tournament wins. Brian Dutcher doesn't have what he has unless Steve Fisher does his thing. And I know that Brian Dutcher, he says that all the time. So it's not like he's taking credit for it. He knows it's a team effort. But what I love most about this is that he is a San Diego guy, and he's a guy who wants to see things through. And we talked about it with Mike Trout yesterday, but Mike Trout is not the manager of that team, of the Angels. He's just a player. He can go somewhere else. Brian Dutcher chose San Diego State, and he also chose a pay cut over what he would have got elsewhere in the country. So Brian Dutcher needs a little bit of credit for being a great San Diegan sports, not icon, but you know what I'm talking about. Sports person, I'll just say. And this is something that is going to be felt for a long time. I have this feeling that the Aztecs basketball team is not done. Now, last night they lost, so it's coming. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But I'm really happy that Brian Dutcher's under contract for the foreseeable future, and I'm really happy that the Aztecs got him under contract. That's a big deal for J.D. Wicker and the Aztecs. That really is. It really is a big deal. Because easily another school could come in and say, hey, well, we'll give you 3 times, or we'll give you 2 times what they're paying you. And Brian Dutcher could have easily said, yeah, I'll go. But as we talked about earlier, he's not a job chaser, and he likes to see things through. So really, really love that Brian Dutcher got his contract extension today. Jorge says, Skraby, can I get a happy 15th birthday to my daughter, Sophia? Of course. Happy birthday, Sophia. Hope your 15th birthday is going great. It's raining, so that's not great for your birthday, but one more year, I guess you get your driver's license, which, by the way, this is another side journey that I go on. But I had a friend tell me, or not a friend, but just someone I know, tell me that their kid just got their driver's license for the first time in their life. And that kid's 27 years old. 27! And I've been hearing this a lot lately from many people, that people just don't want to get their driver's license anymore. I was in line on the day I turned 16, and I was ready to get my license. I can't imagine waiting 11 years to get that. Wait a second. Dave's telling me that you have to be 18 to get a license. When did that change? If that's changed, that's insane. I'm going to have to look up that. I'm going to continue with the news of the day, and then we're going to circle back to that. The Aztecs did lose to UNLV last night, and you can't blame it on the Aztecs. I guess you can blame it on them because they put themselves in a hole to start the game, and then they were playing catch-up the entire time. But they did end up tying the game. The UNLV team, though, they just made more shots. And it's not – it actually is. I'm going to say it. It's not like I'm going on a limb or anything, but it's very concerning to me that they cannot win on the road. It's very concerning to me that the Aztecs cannot win on the road and win big games. So they're great at home. We know this. But on the road is a big difference in a team. And I'm always curious why teams struggle on the road. I know that it's in a different environment and all that, but still, it's just basketball. I mean, I could believe that a team is slightly worse on the road or worse on the road, but I can't believe a team just completely forgets how to play on the road. And the Aztecs haven't forgotten how to play, but it was not a good showing last night. And Jaden Ledee shot 2 for 12. So things did not go their way, but they hung in there. That's a good thing, is that they were able to hang in there even though they were down by, I think, 12 points at one point in that game. So they did come back, but I think, as Chris was saying earlier, Mark Ziegler wrote it too. Their shot at a 4 seed in the tournament is probably gone. So they're going to have to win this game on Friday against Boise at home, and then they're going to have to put on a good showing in the tournament, the Mountain West tournament, and that will be their path to the tournament. Yes. Jorge says, "You the man, Skrabe." She was freaking out hearing that over the radio. Well, I really hope to do that more because it is cool. I remember when the first time, I actually do. Remember I tweeted something in one time to a sports talk show and they mentioned me and I was like, I listened to it like 100 times of them mentioning me and reading it. So glad I could help, Jorge. Final one right here is the Padres game from today. They lost to the Reds 6-2. But we had a pretty similar lineup. If you were just with us last hour, there's a pretty similar lineup that went out today that we think is going to be a lineup that we may see on opening day, minus a few things. And so Xander Bogaerts led off today playing shortstop. The only reason Kim got his day off. So you're going to have Xander Bogaerts in the lineup. Jake Cronenworth hit second today. He went 2 for 3. He's starting to hit a little bit. I saw some video of him today going opposite field in the gap. And then you have Fernando Tatis Jr. batting third. You have Manny Machado DHing, Jurickson Profar in left field, Luis Campusano at catcher. Jackson Merrill went 1 for 3 today. He is in center field. Tyler Wade is in he was at third base. And that's the big one right there, is that people think he's going to be the guy who's going to open up the year starting at third base for Manny Machado. Now, Manny's going to be a DH most likely, but right now, this lineup looks like a lineup that we could see on opening day in Korea. And to round it out would be Eggy Rosario, who played second, but that would be where Kim goes, and then they would shuffle that a little bit. But it is a little bit strange to see Xander Bogaerts at the top and Fernando at third, but they're just trying to get a feel for the lineup, and they're trying to get a feel for what's going to work. They went righty, lefty, righty with Jake Cronenworth sandwiched in there. So they're trying to at least split it up. They went righty, lefty, righty, righty, switch, and then righty. So they have a lot of right-handers, as we all know. But again, it's spring training. They lose 6-2. Randy Vasquez had a tough outing for the Padres today. And we can't read into it too much because it's just spring training. I have to say that a million times. But he went 3 2/3 today, gave up 8 hits, struck out 3, but also gave up 5 runs. And I believe 3 of those were in home runs. So not a very good day for Randy Vasquez. But the rest of the outing, or the rest of the day, was pretty good for Padres pitching. You have Go with an inning. He gave up a hit and he struck out 1, nothing else. Wandy Peralta, an inning, walked 1, struck out 1, nothing else. Luis Patino pitched today. He went an inning. He gave up an earned run. And so not the worst start in the world, or not the worst appearance in the world, but not the best. And then you have Mr. Go. I already mentioned him. And then you got the Tom Cosgrove, an inning with 1 walk and then nothing really else. Alec Jacob, 1 inning, a hit, and that's it. So after you got Vasquez out of the game, things went very well for the Padres and their pitching staff. So you can take that as your silver lining for today, but they lost 6-2. All right, that is it for the news of the day. Like I said, I want to go through next when we get back, and I'm going to try to figure out this whole driver's license thing. But I want to talk about some of the things that are in the Brian Dutcher contract to see, like, because it's a public record, so it's not like I'm really unveiling anything that's super secret, but it is interesting to hear what he gets, and I think it's going to make you appreciate him a little bit more. So we'll go over that when we get back on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan.
Never.
back here on 97.3 The Fan. I'm Matt Skraby. This is The Skraby Show. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can at Matt Skraby, MATTSKRA, B as in boy, Y. And we went to break talking about Brian Dutcher getting his contract extension with the Aztecs. And I had seen a post earlier today from an intrepid reporter with the name of Bernie Wilson. So you know it's coming from a good source, but he was able to get the contract. He put it up on X if you want to go look at it. It's at Bernie Wilson. But here are some of the things from that Brian Dutcher is going to receive, bonuses and things of that nature, because he's already taking a massive pay cut by not going elsewhere. So I was thinking, okay, it has to be incentives. Incentives are the ones that are the things that are going to get him ahead. It's going to get him to catch up with what's happening, financially around college basketball. So I was wrong, because he doesn't even really, he gets, okay, I got to start over, because not start over, but I got to say, I know this is a lot of money. Any of these, if I'm getting these are life-changing pieces of money, incentives. These are life-changing for me. But for a coach who has taken a team to a national championship and been to the tournament 4 times out of 6 years, that's probably on the lower side. So here we go. If he is the Mountain West Conference champion, and they win the conference championship, $25,000. For the NCAA tournament, if he gets an appearance, just an appearance, including the final or the first 4, $25,000. If he goes to the Final Four, $75,000. Championship game appearance, $100,000. Now, he doesn't get all of those. It would just be, say he goes to the championship, he'll get the $100,000. And I think that's fair. Probably a little on the low side, really. Getting San Diego State to the championship last year is still crazy to me. NCAA tournament games played after the first game. So meaning he is going to make money. This is the amount of money he's going to make in each additional game, which would be $10,000 a game with a max of $50,000. So if he gets into the NIT tournament, a Final Four appearance is worth $10,000. So NIT tournament, a way lesser tournament. So it makes sense. If they rank in the top 10 in the USA Today coaches poll or AP in the final ranking, he gets $25,000. And if he's anywhere between 11 to 25 in the final ranking, he gets $10,000. If he's coach of the year, he gets $25,000. And I thought this one was interesting because it's team cumulative GPA above 2.8. For everybody on the team, he gets $10,000. Now, here are the buyout numbers. So if any team wants to take Brian Dutcher and pay for him to leave San Diego State and become their head coach, this is what they're going to have to pay. And it would be before June 30th of this year, the team would have to pay $10.2 million. And each June 30th through 2027, they go 7.8, 5.3, $2.7 million. After July 1st, 2027, he is basically a free agent again. Or not a free agent, but $0 to buy him out. Here is where I'm thinking that Brian Dutcher is going nowhere. Because and I know he's going nowhere because he, is under contract, but he is accepting of all of these numbers that may not be fair to him on the open market. And so I got to applaud Brian Dutcher for that. I think it's really awesome in this day and age to have someone like Brian Dutcher who is not so concerned with the money. He's more concerned as to what he's doing with the with the program. He's more concerned about the kids. He always says kids, and he is more concerned about being a part of the San Diego State Aztecs and being a part of San Diego. As I said last segment, he sat behind Steve Fisher for 18 years before he got his shot. If it would make no sense to me for him to get in that chair and then just quickly move on. He seems like he's a guy who's going to stay with San Diego State for a long time. And that's a very comforting feeling for me if I am an Aztec fan or if I'm in the Aztecs athletic department. Because you want a guy like Brian Dutcher. He's the definition of consistency. People love playing for him, and he really does make the rest of basketball talk about the Aztecs and talk about him. So I am a fan of what Brian Dutcher got from the Aztecs today. Now I'm getting a question on the chat from C20. What is his annual salary, total contract worth, and total annual highest bonus, and how does that compare to the other top 20 programs? You don't want me doing math, so there. I'm not going to do that, but I will tell you he is his $2.3 million next season salary would rank 54th in college basketball, just behind Mississippi State's $2.4 million. John Calipari of Kentucky makes $8.5 million. So here are some of the other numbers that are going around. Arizona recently signed coach Tommy Lloyd to a 5-year extension worth $6 million. UCLA's Mick Cronin, $4.1 million. Or $6 million, I'm sorry, in the final season of that extension. And then Dana Altman, $4 million, Andy Enfield, $3.5 million, and it goes on. And Wayne Tinkle, $2.6 million. You guys know why I said that. And then Arizona State's Danny Hurley, $2.6 million. So he's getting paid on par with some of these other, formerly Pac-12 West Coast schools, but he's not getting the mid-level money. So that's his base salary. His bonuses are all there, like I just explained. But I think this is an incredible deal for the Aztecs. Really incredible. I guess there were some suitors for Brian Dutcher that may have caused this extension to come in a little bit. It seems like they wanted to lock him down before the end of the regular season because he wouldn't then be able to go and talk with other teams, and he wouldn't be able to switch other teams. But their sources, according to Mark Ziegler, inside and outside the athletic department, told the Union Tribune that Ohio State, which did part ways with their head coach Chris Holtmann and his $3.5 million annual salary, they fired him last month. So they inquired about Dutcher's availability. And I think that tells you everything you need to know. A big school like Ohio State coming to try and steal Brian Dutcher, it makes sense to me. It really does make sense to me. His last contract, and I know that we talked about this a lot because we were thinking that maybe he was going to go elsewhere because his dad was a coach at Minnesota, and he, has ties to Minnesota as well. So when Minnesota fired their head coach, people were thinking, hey, he could probably head out to Minnesota and continue that legacy, but he didn't, and he stayed. And now J.D. Wicker has locked up Brian Dutcher for the next 5 seasons. Here's what J.D. Wicker said, the athletic director. We're definitely getting a very economic deal. We're very appreciative Brian was willing to work with us on that because I'm sure he could go other places and make significantly more money. So there you go. A guy that I want to emulate Brian Dutcher one day. He just seems like a good dude, a good leader, not concerned about the most money. He's just concerned about coaching basketball, and he's concerned about doing good things for the Aztec team. And that sounds like a pretty good legacy for me. I'll take that in a heartbeat. Let's see what's going on in the chat right now. I don't know if I want to read the chat because sometimes there is some ugly things in the chat, not about me or anything like that. Anthony says, can I call? Oh, no, never mind. Jack says, Skraby is rolling in the dough. No, I'm not. Dan says, Skraby, not pay cut, hometown discount, please. Okay. I can say that, yes, it's true. It's a hometown discount. It's not a pay cut because he wasn't making more money and now he's making less money. He's still making more money. I say pay cut because that's how my tiny little brain works, but it's a hometown discount. And that sounds cooler for San Diegans if you say a hometown discount about Brian Dutcher. I'm getting questions about the driver's license thing. And you know what? I completely forgot. I'm not going to lie. That's really bad. But I'm going to look up this stuff in the break. There was a question on the chat about AJ Preller that I wanted to answer. We also have the daily gripe ahead. So I'm going to tell you about the driver's license situation. I'm going to talk about AJ Preller, and we will do the daily gripe when we get back here on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan.
Quinn and Chris on
It's very fitting we come into the Skraby Show with this bed. You'll find out why in just a second. One of the questions asked by someone that may like this music. Matt Skraby with you here on 97.3 The Fan. Back into the Skraby Show. Follow me on social media. I'm Matt Skraby. Go to YouTube, 97.3 The Fan. Click the live button. Click the subscribe button as well, because you're going to want to. You're going to want to, trust me. And I was in the break thinking about what in the heck is on the window. Why do I keep hearing things on the window? Well, apparently it's raining, and I had no idea. Because if you can't see on the screen, I mean, everything outside is just dark. Can't see anything. And apparently these windows are just like reflective in only at night. Terrible. So now I have to deal with that when I go home. All you drivers out there, make sure you are safe. So Omar says, we just heard a Juan Soto home run clip on the radio. Ooh, we're going to have to go check that out. All right, I want to start with this, though. Excuse me. And it's kind of embarrassing, but that's what I'm here for, is to admit embarrassing things. And I saw Joey Votto tweet this out yesterday, I think it was, and it's hilarious because I had no idea that Joey Votto, formerly of the Reds, loved this show. But he tweeted out something very, very short, but it caught my attention. And he said, it's a big day for Jimmy and Chelsea. And if you know who Jimmy and Chelsea are, you know why it's a big day. And that's because the weddings episode has been released on Love is Blind. Now, I don't watch dating shows very often, like ever, because number one, it makes me uncomfortable to watch other people's relationships. It really does. Number two, I feel like a lot of those dating shows, and Love is Blind is included in that, but I feel like those dating shows are all about just getting your name on the map and just kind of putting your face out there, because these people do experience a huge bump in, I guess, followers and interest in them. And then they, it's kind of funny because no one remembers who was on the first season of that. It just keeps going. Each season we keep getting these people, and the seasons have gone up and down. But this season I really liked. And he said Jimmy and Chelsea because that was okay. So if you don't know, I guess I should explain what the premise of the show is. And that is they are in these pods, they call them, and you're not allowed to see the other person until you propose to them. So you can't see them. You can just talk to them. You can just hear their voice. You can spend as much time as you want with them for like 7 days or something crazy like that. But if you want to actually see what they look like, you have to propose to them. So that's kind of why I like it, because I want to see how many people are, the relationships change after they see them, because everybody on the show's like, looks don't matter. It doesn't matter how this person looks. I will love them for who they are. But then sometimes they see them and they're like, this is not what I signed up for. I am not a fan. Propose what? Like marriage. You have to propose to the person to get married within 7 days or something like that. But anyway, so there's always one couple on the show that you never know if they're going to get married or not, because they do the whole wedding thing. It's very dramatic. They do the whole wedding thing and they like dress everybody up. They have all their families come in. They have, a reverend or a priest or whatever. And they have bridesmaids. They have it all. They have a real wedding. And they have these weddings, even if you say no. So that's the payoff of the entire season is, will they say no or will they say yes? And there's always a couple that you think, I don't have no idea which way they're going. Like last year, 2 years ago, maybe 2 seasons ago, they had a couple and I thought they had worked through their problems. And so the guy was standing up there and he's like, yes, I want to marry you. And then the girl, I can't remember her name, but she just ripped into this guy, telling him he's a terrible person and in front of everyone. So that was a lot, I have to say. But Jimmy and Chelsea are not getting married. I'm just going to let you know, because you can already see these things. But it's because of how Chelsea goes about things. And Jimmy seems like a pretty he seems like a pretty normal guy. Chelsea seems normal too. Although Jimmy called her clingy one time and she lost her mind. That tells me something. And then I go looking for my red flags with all these people because I have nothing better to do. And Chelsea is like questioning whether or not Jimmy actually loves her. And so Jimmy's out because Chelsea keeps asking him that. And then she also throws other things at his face. So they have this incredibly awkward sit down at an amusement park. And she says that she still wants to marry Jimmy. And Jimmy says, nope, I'm good. You made me question too much and I cannot do this. So I am out. And the reunion episode is next week. And I cannot wait to see what happened because Chelsea's going to be angry. I have a feeling. I haven't really looked at the aftermath of things. But if you watch these shows, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you're like, oh man, that person. And they choose to be on the show. So their life is going to be pulled apart. But as soon as you say someone's clingy and they get angry at you, I think that's a red flag. I'm just going to say. Also, when you cry all the time because someone didn't say hi to you enough. Yeah, that was another Chelsea thing. Like, I'm fine with saying hi to someone throughout the day, like texting them, hey, what's up? But if I don't because I'm busy or something, I don't want to come home and get, why didn't you say hi to me today? But yeah, there you go. And McKee says, now I don't have to watch the show. Thanks, Skraby. These spoilers have been all over the internet for weeks and weeks and weeks. And Jorge says, Joey Votto, he's just like us. That's right. He is just like us. He loves Love is Blind. Next item on the list for today on the Skraby Show, driver's licenses. This came up earlier because I was saying that someone told me that their son or their kid, son or daughter, didn't get their driver's license until they were 27, which blew my mind. And on the chat, they said, you don't get your driver's license until you're 18 now. And that blew my mind. So I did some research and apparently it's all changed. And I had no idea. So I guess I had a bigger or a better time of getting my driver's license, easier time of getting my driver's license than the kids that have to do it now. But here's the breakdown. And I was not aware of this. And this is according to the internet. So take it with a grain of salt. Provisional permit. You have to be 15 and a half years old with driver's education or 17 and a half years old without driver's education. So I don't really get why you can have no driver's education 2 years after, but that doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, you can still get a permit, 15 and a half and 17 and a half. I got my permit, no joke, day I turned 15. I was ready. Now, this is where it's a lot different for me. Provisional license is you get at 16 years old with driver's education and subject to restrictions such as curfew and passenger limit. I was someone who had to deal with we called it back in the day, the 6 months rule, because it was right around the time that I got my license. You weren't allowed to drive with anyone under the age of 25 in your car for the first 6 months of your driver's license. But this says it's going to be the first 2 years. Because the next step up, full driver's license, 18 years old and older, which I had no idea you could not get a full driver's license till you're 18 these days. Provisional license just does you okay for 2 years, but wow. No wonder kids are getting their driver's licenses later these days. It seems like a long wait. I was out the door. The minute I got home from my driver's test and I passed and I had my license, I was already out doing things. And I hope other kids are still like that. I really do. Dominic says, Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry. Jax says, got pulled over driving a friend 2 days after getting my license. Not good. Not good. Jorge says, I was a passenger with my friend who was still provisional, caught pulled over and made me walk home. Wow. That's pretty hardcore right there. That's hilarious, actually, that they made you walk home. So if you have any thoughts on this driver's license thing, you can come into the chat here on YouTube, or you can tweet me at Matt Skraby. Jack says, we got to get you on this show. Love is Blind. No, I don't want to be on these shows. Like, I may seem like I'm a very outgoing guy, and I may seem like I'm a very gregarious guy, but for some reason, when these mics turn off, I'm not a different person, but I'm definitely not as loud, I think at least, as I am on the radio. But I don't want to go on these shows because they film everything. Oh, it's so uncomfortable. Some of the things that they're talking about, and there's just someone standing there. Like they have these like so after they propose to each other and they accept the proposal or whatever, they're engaged, and then they go on a vacation for like a week so that they can get to know each other and see each other and all this other stuff. And they have these scenes where they're trying to like talk about their relationship while they're like in bed. And it's just so awkward. I would never want to be on I would never want to be on one of these shows. I'm sorry. My cousin, she's I think she's around 25 now. For a long time she tried to get me on The Bachelor, and I said, "No, I don't want to be on it. Why does everybody force me? Why does everybody force me?" Easy Money. I've been listening to you, Skraby. I got you. A-Rod says, do you miss Bombed at the Beach? If you are a longtime Skraby guy, you know what Bombed at the Beach is. And I would say, no, I don't miss it at all. That was back when I was a drunk. It was one of my first radio gigs, being a guy who went out to bars and asked people trivia questions. And I would end up being more drunk than the person that is the contestant. So it was funny. And it got me started in radio, so I don't regret that. But I don't want anything to do with that these days. Nothing at all. AJ Preller, that was the last thing. Oh, Melvin says, Skraby, you be out of everyone's league on Love is Blind. Wow, it's pretty cool that people think of me like that. You're too good for The Bachelor, Skraby. Wow, this is very nice today. The chat is being incredibly nice. Everybody on Twitter is being incredibly nice. I really love today. And I appreciate that. How long has it been since you stopped drinking from EC Money? Well, I can tell you because I have an app. It's 2,648 days, 18 hours, 45 minutes, and 45 seconds. So basically December 5th, 2016. I always forget the year. But December 5th, 2016. So haven't been doing Bombed at the Beach. Think that. What do I think about doing a sober fan meetup? Love to. If it's sober, I don't like to go to bars and stuff by myself and have everybody around me be drunk. But if we're all having fun, that would be cool. I'm not opposed to that whatsoever. So yeah. 2000, what was it? How many days? 2,648. Honestly, it seems like a lot. It seems like a lot less than that, but it's not. All right, AJ Preller, real quick. Let's see. Well, I need to get to the chat that in question from Irie Fan Geek. Hence my bed coming back was reggae. If no more moves are made at all, do we start to think that AJ's getting set up to be fired soon? And quick answer, no, he's not being set up to be fired soon. But I do think this is something that we're not really talking about is that AJ Preller, all indications say that AJ Preller, this is his last go with the Padres this year if they don't meet expectations. And so I don't think that AJ Preller, he knows this, and I don't think that AJ Preller is going to sit around and just let himself get fired. I don't think that AJ Preller is going to do anything that's going to make an inferior team. I think AJ Preller went all in last year, hoping for them to go deep in the playoffs. Didn't happen. So now he's on his last legs again. And this has been a couple times now that he's been on his last legs. I remember when they said Jace Tingler, that would be his last manager that he hired. And he stayed around after Jace Tingler. And then you have Bob Melvin, stayed around after Bob Melvin as well. So I cannot see, and maybe it's possible, but I cannot see a bad season keeping AJ Preller in his spot for 2025. I just can't. They have to win now. The window is here. The window is not closing, but it will close, and it's going to close sooner rather than later. So I think you really need to. AJ Preller is going to do everything in his power to win this year, and he needs it because his job's on the line. So if you don't think that he's taking this serious, which a lot of you do think he is taking this serious, he is, because he might not be with the Padres anymore if his team does not win this year. So I think AJ Preller is locked in for this year, but has to prove for next year. And I could be really wrong. Maybe the plan is to just do this forever. I have no idea. We just watched Carlos Rodon give up a home run, and Aaron Boone is coming out of the dugout to get him. So Carlos Rodon did not have a good day today, and he's pretty angry, I could see on the mound. All right, with that said, it's now time for this.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
All right, so the Daily Gripe today is another Skraby special of someone doing something to me that only bothers me and no one else in the world. But the Daily Gripe today is when someone is on my side of the street when I'm walking the dogs and they don't budge while walking their dogs. So I don't know what the real rule is. Like, because my house is on one side of the street, and sometimes I have to, play chicken with someone walking down the street. But what's the rule? Is it the person who's farther away has to go across the street? Or is it the person who is, I don't even know, but I don't budge because mainly sometimes I have 3 dogs I'm walking, but it's always awkward. It's always a stare down. And so this came up either yesterday or today when I was walking and this person would not move off the sidewalk to save their lives. And so they put it to me. They said, prove it. Prove, Mr. Skraby, that you are not going to go across the street. And you know what I did? I went across the street. Of course I did. Because they win. But still, Daily Gripe, when someone is on my side of the street and they won't budge while walking their dogs and I'm walking my dogs. It's just a dog standoff. Not that my dogs are mean or anything, but just don't want to deal with it because then the leashes get tangled. It's a whole thing. And then I fall. It's all a whole thing. All right. Thank you for listening to the Skraby Show. Appreciate everybody. If you, Dominic says your side of the street, ? Yes, the side that I'm already walking on. Appreciate everybody who listened today. Appreciate everybody who listened to Gwen and Chris. Back tomorrow for another Skraby Show. Ben and Wood start at 6 a.m. here on 97.3 The Fan. Annie and Elston at 10 a.m., 2 p.m. Gwen and Chris. And then another Skraby Show tomorrow night. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a great night. Don't get frogged. Peace. I always want to say that, and it didn't come out very cool. Anyway.